Hey, what's up, FPL fans? Calvin Klein from FPL fans. Calvin Klein from fantasyfootball247.co.uk, back again with another version of the fixture tracker, this time for 2016/17 season. This has taken a lot longer to make than I expected. Therefore, this is really late, the day before the season starts. So this will be a bit of a rush job. So sorry about that. But let's crack on. Okay, the first thing you want to do is make your own copy. I got so many emails asking for access to edit the original last season, which obviously can't happen because that'll mess it up for everybody else. So you want to click on File, go to Make a Copy, call it whatever you want, and OK, and that'll save it in your own Google Drive. And that'll be your version, and you can edit it however you want. I'd also recommend bookmarking that for easy access for later on. Okay, so yeah, this is a rush job, like I said, but this box here will hopefully be replaced by this video soon enough, and it will make more sense to everybody. Okay, so the main difference from last season to this season is that I have split it up into both defense and attack. A guy called Martin Hansen was emailing me back and forward last season, and he suggested that, and I definitely agree with him. That's a good idea. That was the main problem, I think, with the last season's tracker. You can rate the teams however you like, but often there will be quite a disparity between how good their defense and attack is. Like Leicester early on in the season, for example, they were shipping goals left, right, and centre, but they were obviously scoring even more. So you'd have rated them really highly, but that doesn't really help when you wanted to look at bringing in a defender, for example. All of their fixtures would have shown as green, even though their defense wasn't, up to much. So yeah, I've split it up into defense and attack this season. So if you have a look, you navigate by the tabs at the bottom. So we have one for defense that looks like this, and then another for attack. So if you compare them both, you'll see that the fixtures are all the same, obviously, but the colors change quite significantly, like so. So to be able to customize this for your own valuations, we go over to the variables tab, which is where all the magic happens. Let it load up. And you want to focus on anything that's colored cyan like this. If this had been able to come out earlier like I'd hoped, I was literally going to leave all of these columns blank for you to fill in, so that would force you all to fill it in with your own valuations, so it's going to be a lot more personal to you. But with it being so late in the day, I wanted to give you, some default values, so at least this is populated and you've got something to work with straight away. But I definitely do recommend changing these values to your own ratings. So you want to give each team, well, first of all, actually, you decide how many different skill levels you want to give your teams. So for example, you could split it up into 4 skill levels. It can be between 3 and 10, okay? So you could split it up into 4 skill levels. So it could look like this, for example, or to be more detailed, maybe 7, for example. But it can be anything between 3 and 10. So obviously the more you have, the more detailed it'll be. It's up to you. And this can change throughout the season. In fact, it almost certainly will, depending on how teams form, go up and down. So for the default, I've just gone with 5, because it seems like a decent, sensible number in the middle. So you want to give each team a rating between 1 and 5 in this case, but 1 and whatever it would be in your case, with 1 being the strongest. Okay, so for example, for defense, Arsenal would be 1, and also 1 in attack. but there'll be some teams that are stronger in either defense or attack. So, for example, the default value, Hull is 5 in defense, but they're a little bit better in attack than defense. The biggest difference is probably, yeah, West Brom. So they'd be quite miserly in defense, but pretty poor in attack. So yeah, you decide how many skill levels you want to give each team. No, sorry, how many skill levels you want to split the different teams up into, and select it here. And that is going to auto-populate these columns over here, which shows you how many you need to fill in. Again, you're going to want to fill in just the cyan color columns, okay? So with it being 5 that we've chosen, it's going to go all the way down to 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 5. So you're going to fill it all the way into 5, and then all the way across to level 5 as well. Just for example, if you'd have only chosen a very simple one with 3, you'd only have to fill down to 3 and across to 3. And conversely with 10, you're going to have to fill the whole thing in, which is going to take quite a while, but then it's going to be super detailed. So then you have to decide what color scheme you want. I'll just take that back to 5 because that's what we're using for this example. Select the color scheme you want. There's 3 available. A basic one, a standard one, or a detailed one. So the basic is just your 3 colors. Standard with a 5. And detailed using 7. Okay. And this shows you the key that you have to use to fill these columns in here. Okay. So if you wanted basic, you'd actually have to use 3 A's instead of 1. That's the only way I could make it work. I'm sure there are people out there who are a lot more accomplished in spreadsheets and formulas and stuff than me. And if anyone has any suggestions on how to improve this, then by all means, hit me up on Twitter. But this is how I can make it work. So if you're choosing 3, you have to use 3 of them when filling this in. So it would be like this instead. And if you're choosing, and you do that for every single one in all of the columns. And if you're choosing 5, then you'd fill it out with 2 letters instead of 3, like this. So then that would become that. And again, you do that. Whichever one you choose, whether it's 3, 5, or 7, make sure to fill out the same for everything. But yeah, so for this example, we're using 7, just because it's more detailed. Okay, so as you can see here in the key, the grey cells indicate away games and the white cells indicate home games. So what we have here is every combination of different matches between teams of different skill levels. So this is the defense column, and this is the attack column, indicated by the D and the A. And that's the same in every single level as you go along. Okay. So in this cell here indicates a team of defense level 1 playing away, because it's in grey, against the team of attack level 1. So that's going to be a pretty tough match. So I've given that an F rating, okay? And the same all the way down. So that's going to be versus the same team at home. And then it's going to get it's always going to get easier as you move down. So this is them. So for example, Arsenal, a team of a 1 defense, playing a team of a 2 attack like Chelsea or Everton away, and then at home. And so, the same as we move down the column. So these games are always going to be much easier. So I've given them an A. And you just do that. So then the same for teams of an attack level 1 against the various defenses both away and at home. And you just give, however difficult you think this game is, you give it the appropriate color rating here. Fill it out for all of the levels that show up here, and it's going to auto-populate the colors here. Just to show you this working in real time, I'm going to do what I suggest you all do, which is delete the columns. I'm just going to delete the defense ones, and I'll leave the attack ones up, but you should do both. I'm just going to give it the same ratings in attack and defense in terms of how difficult the game is anyway. But this will help you see exactly how it works. So when that's finally updated, it's quite slow because, as you can see here, there are some other people who keep coming in and checking it out as I'm explaining. Okay, so now it should all be blank. There we go. But in attack, it's still populated because the ratings are still there. So for this, I'm just going to put in this first rating. I'm just going to make it the same as this. So an F difficulty for teams of a defense of 1 away against teams with an attack of 1. Put that in, and you should see just those fixtures appear here with their respective color that you've given them. In this case, it was an F, so it's going to be quite a difficult fixture. Let it load, and there you go. So every team that you've given a defense rating of 1, so that would be Arsenal, Leicester, City and Spurs in this case, but it'll be whoever you've chosen for yours. Every time they face a level 1 team away, which is indicated by it being lowercase as opposed to uppercase, which would be home, you've now given that a difficulty rating, which is why it appears here. So you just want to go through that for every single column that's appeared here, and you'll see it gradually filling up. So I'm just going to fill out all of level 1. Again, just make it the same as the attack column. Let it do its thing, and you should gradually see that filling up. So all 4 of these teams will now be complete when that's finished. And it shouldn't be this slow for you. Like I said, I think this is because there's a bunch of other people viewing this at the moment. And there you go. So you can imagine as you do this for each of the others, it's just gonna, I'm just gonna copy and paste this as a whole. It will, the whole list will get populated. And these, the great thing about this is these are going to be completely personal to you because you've given each one your own rating. So not only do you choose how good each team is in defense and attack, like your valuations could be wildly different from mine, you also get to choose how difficult each match is as well. So we could even have the exact same valuations of how good each team is in defense and attack, but you could think it's actually, easier or harder for a team with the strongest defense to play a team with the strongest attack. You might think at home, the home advantage is more significant than this. So instead of it being that difficult, E, you might give it a neutral D. And that's the great thing about this tracker. You can literally update everything depending on how you see things changing as the season goes on. Like, quite embarrassingly, but I don't think I was alone in this. Last season, if you still have access to the file, you'll see that the initial default rating for Leicester was a 5, and obviously they surprised everyone there. So that just shows how useless making a tracker like this, that's for the whole season, is if you can't change things as they go along. So obviously, as Leicester started to dominate more and more, you would change their rating. So for example, just say Hull surprise everybody and do a Leicester this season. I've rated them 5 in defence and 4 in attack just now. So you can see, if you go to the defence, I mean, it's a horrible start for them. You got Leicester, United, and Arsenal, and Liverpool, and Chelsea in the first few game weeks, and you can see how you just want to stay well away from that. So you got a red, red, orange, red. Yeah, it's not very inviting fixtures, but just say they started doing really well. You can come over here, change it to like a 1 or a 2, and then just let it load up again, and suddenly you should see these fixtures change in color appropriately. Like that. That's suddenly a much brighter outlook. One last tip is to make sure after every game week that you hide the column. Just like that. So, the relevant game week will be right there. If, for example, when game week 10 starts, you're not going to want to have to look past all this to get there. So you just make sure it's right there for you. And you do that in both defense and attack. One last thing. Last season there was a really useful tool for comparing different teams. You could compare any teams you liked. For example, you might want to see how well Bournemouth, Hull, and I don't know, Burnley rotate, in case you wanted to have like 3 cheap defenders. So you could have a fixture against Swansea, West Ham, Palace, Hull, etc. But unfortunately, I just haven't been able to make the formulas work yet. So these are currently not working, but I am going to try and fix them as soon as possible, and there will be an update on the website when that is good to go. But in the meantime, sorry they don't work, but I run out of time, so I'm just having to release this with that not currently working. But yeah, watch this space, and as soon as I can fix that, I'll let you all know. Okay, so yeah, any questions? Because I realize it is quite complicated. Just shoot me a question on Twitter. My handle's right there. But yeah, I guess that'll be it for now. Have a good season, everybody. Hope you all come second place. Catch you later.